Tan, Chairman of the Government Parliamentary Committee for Finance and Trade and Industry. Distinguished panelists and guests, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you all. Having just ushered in the Golden Rabbit Year, let me wish everyone a happy and prosperous Chinese New Year. 恭喜发财，新年进步. ICPAS Research, which organized this ICPAS pre- and post-budget Roundtable 2010, has once again this year organizing the ICPAS pre-budget 2011 Roundtable. The purpose of this session is to help to gather feedback on budget matters so that we can, through Ms. Jessica Tan, channel it back to the government. This morning, I'm very pleased to, again, co-chair this session with Ms. Jessica Tan, who is the chairman for the Government Parliamentary Committee for Finance and Trade Industry. Of course, he's also the MP for, I think, East Coast GRC in Singapore. Looking at the development of the economy, the emerging nations in particular, the rapid advancement is but one of the many new realities that global companies face. Talking about new realities, indeed, the new reality is the theme of this year's World Economic Forum meeting in Davos in Switzerland. Dr. Elisabeth Dennison, who is a senior economist at Deloitte, Germany, at the World Economic Forum 2011 made these observations. She said that the financial crisis was the catalyst for the process of global rebalancing. With the maturing of emerging nations, financial power and consumption is increasingly shifting from the West to the East. And in China and India alone, about 2 billion new middle-income consumers are expected to join the consumer base in the next 10 to 15 years. And in 2010, many of us noticed that China passed Japan to become the world's second largest economy, behind the US. OECD estimates that by 2030, China will overtake US and account for almost a quarter of the world GDP. So what is all this meant for Singapore, even at this point? For the roller coaster ride, it's predicted to slow down actually in 2011. Prime Minister Lee just recently said that the stellar 2010 economic growth was the result of special circumstances and unlikely to be repeated soon. He said, instead, a more moderate GDP growth of between 3 to 5% is expected in the medium term. So at this juncture, I would like to just briefly refresh our memory of the budget. This is going back a year ago for 2010. The key thrust of the budget 2010 were, 1, raising productivity. An annual sum of 1.1 billion over the next 5 years has been committed in the form of tax benefits, grants, training, subsidies to support the national effort to raise productivity. Number 2, growing globally competitive companies. Efforts to help local players grow into globally competitive companies have been boosted in areas such as capability development, internationalization, and financing. And number 3, including all Singaporeans in growth. And for that, 1.4 billion in direct transfers had been spent for household in FY 2010. Together with the workfare income supplement, the total sum transferred to household would be 1.8 billion. In fact, some of these budget 2010 initiatives were well received. For example, in the recent survey conducted by the Singapore Chinese Chamber of Commerce and Industry, enterprises have cited that workfare training scheme, about 50% of the respondents, funding to business and trade associations, 50% of the respondents, and productivity and innovation credit as most useful as they offered the most direct forms of funding to raise productivity and strengthen competitiveness amongst companies. So my personal sense is that the focus for the budget 2011 is likely to be similar in some areas to that of 2010. very quickly, first,